Coming up on this episode of The Secret Gardens, we visit the tranquil shores of Martha's Vineyard, where a secluded garden reflects the natural beauty of the island. Also, a hidden garden that unfolds like a storybook of color. And later, a taste of a garden that's rooted in island history.
The gardens in this house are the icing on the cake.
Our private tour is just ahead on The Secret Gardens. Rippling tides wash over the shores of Martha's Vineyard, carving and molding the seacoast with each gentle motion. It's believed this island off the coast of Massachusetts was formed by glaciers 10,000 years ago. And even today, the island continues to be shaped by nature. And tucked away in a lush woodland, the waves of one woman's imagination also shape the island's landscape. The secret garden of Polly Hill began more than 40 years ago, when she began planting with a passion to enhance the island's natural beauty and to create a haven for its wildlife.
I wanted to plant what was good for Martha's Vineyard. I knew that they had very few kinds of plants growing here.
Now, as an arboretum open to the public, this once private oasis delights visitors with its overflowing beauty. Heathery beds of lavender iberis, accented with peonies and salvia, dance on the sweeping 20-acre landscape. And wandering the grounds, visitors often wonder about Polly's gardening secrets.
It's secret, perhaps, to the extent that it is always giving people something to learn. The secrets are there. The answers are very few.
But the lessons surrounding this magical paradise are as old as time. It began in 1957 with the planting of 50 pine trees to form a protective barrier against island winds. Over the decades, Polly cultivated a growing relationship with the garden.
People always say, "Do you talk to plants?" And I said, no, I listen to plants because they tell you what they like.
Listening and patience led to the creation of an enchanting arbor that magically supports itself with the embrace of its own entwined branches. The fantasy tunnel of hornbeam was shaped over time, much like the coastline of Martha's Vineyard.
It took about 10 years, I guess, for the sides to get up. But then you have to go over the top, and that takes longer.
Not far from the arbor, a rustic stone wall leads to a sheltered resting spot, where visitors may linger with other garden admirers in the quiet peace of the woodland. Here, a glimpse of a rugged gate and fence raises curiosity about the sun-dappled garden hidden inside. Protected from native wildlife, a special collection of plants flourishes inside the garden room affectionately dubbed Polly's Playpen.
I wanted a place far away I could do what I wanted. Each year it looks fatter and happier and bigger and so on.
A grassy path, made just wide enough for two, winds through the 350-foot glen, where Polly tends the azaleas, one of her favorite plants. An exotic array of colors seems to explode on the quiet path, blanketing the glen with a warm embrace. But there are more attention-getters beyond the playpen, where a giant magnolia stretches its branches skyward to catch an island breeze. Its leaves sometimes grow to reach 3 feet in length, with flowers up to a foot wide, leaving some visitors stunned by their large size.
I think they're very surprised that a tree is growing like that. They just laugh and they say it's amazing, you know.
Another tree in the garden was nearly destroyed by a delivery truck when it was a mere sapling. But the little Japanese white birch is now twice as beautiful as it might have been if not for the accident.
That little tree developed two sides, and now I have twice as much beautiful bark. Well, I think it's fun. It's just one of those lucky things that happens.
By listening to the plants and relying on a little luck, Polly has created a garden hardy enough for the wind and surf of the island. It's a legacy of treasures, happily shared with visitors to Martha's Vineyard. Coming up, a garden landscape inspired by poetry.
The dahlias sleep in the empty alley and wait for the early owl.
And later, an island escape in the shade of a grand old oak. The Secret Gardens returns in a moment. Summer homes dot the tree-lined dunes of Martha's Vineyard like splashes of paint on a green canvas. Located off the coast of Massachusetts, this island getaway is also painted by the sea. And while sparkling views of the water are a magnet for most who come here, it was a different view of water that attracted one couple inland, where they built an oasis in the woods.
And I feel like we've created a little sanctuary, and it's a very private one. It's rather secret, as you can see. We did it, and I almost can't believe it sometimes. We actually did this.
Artist Eleanor Hubbard began this private garden more than 20 years ago, and now it frames her home with dazzling displays of color. One of the garden's beauty secrets is the natural water that lies out of sight, underground. The home and garden were built over a natural water source known as an aquifer. It seemed the perfect solution to keeping this island oasis afloat.
If the whole island runs out of water, we're still over the water source. And you know, living on an island, water is crucial.
With the survival of the garden ensured, Eleanor put her creative talents into painting a new landscape around her home. And as an artist and lover of literature, she cleverly wove a storyline into her garden's palette.
I like T.S. Eliot, who has a marvelous line, the dahlias sleep in the empty alley and wait for the early owl, and we have owls all around us, and so I filled my first garden with dahlias.
Strawberry patches and gardens of time, also inspired by the lyrics of poetry, fill the garden like chapters in a book.
It's about the balance of opposites, dark colors against light colors, pastels against primary colors, short against tall, crooked against straight, and I love to work with those balances.
At the home's entry, leafy hostas shade dainty impatiens that line the tiled walkway.
And that's a garden which says, come in, I hope.
Hidden in the dense growth, a rugged stone path leads to a secluded resting spot barely visible from the home. Behind the home, an artful mix of opposites is mirrored in a reflecting pool. The playful fish were created by Eleanor to add a splash of color and humor to the formal setting.
It's both whimsical and very formal, and it reflects my husband's and my interest in the balance of opposites, in formality and in whimsy, in fun.
And it's here that the garden meets the woodland and 22 dwarf Alberta spruce trees.
The dwarf Alberta spruce are like little sentinels. They bring the civilized part of our garden to a certain point. Beyond that point, they say, this is rustic, this is woods. Beyond this point, anything goes.
Echoing the arch of the deck, the spruces frame one more visual delight in this creative secret garden. Lush perennial beds overflow with flowers bearing names as poetic as their colors and forms. Stargazer lily, lady's mantle, and delphinium paint the perennial canvas with their free-flowing strokes. Surrounded by woodland, this secret garden of Martha's Vineyard reveals a colorful portrait of a private island retreat. Secure on its own wellspring of nature, it's an artistic oasis with a never-ending reservoir of beauty. Still to come, a secret garden that's doing its best to be discovered.
The front garden is really the big exciting hello.
And later, a lifelong romance blossoms in the garden as the secret gardens continues.
Thursday night.
Roses brighten the historic cottage-lined streets of Martha's Vineyard, providing a colorful contrast to the romantic fog of New England. In this comfortable climate, days are easily spent exploring the old sidewalks and tree-lined streets of the island's oldest town of Edgerton. Settled nearly 400 years ago, Edgerton is still known for the stately homes of 19th century whaling captains. Not far away, the secret garden of another historic home shelters its own views of history on Martha's Vineyard.
I think it's a secret garden because what you see in the front of the house is not all that there is. You truly have to walk the property to appreciate all the little secret places here.
Adorned with the old-fashioned charm of roses, the home's name invites curiosity about its past. Owner Kathy Bonder named it the Doctor's House, after learning it was built as the summer home of Dr. Gary Huff in 1908. It later became a summer retreat for two other doctors as well. Today, the property reflects its historic roots through its gardens. And they're just what the doctor ordered for a secluded island getaway.
The gardens in this house are the icing on the cake. They bring a lot of the excitement and the color and the style of Martha's Vineyard. It's very casual and very easygoing.
Blue salvia, coral bells, poppies, and irises combine in a brilliant splash of color that catches the eye of those who find their way into this hidden retreat.
The front garden is really the big exciting hello. The rest of the yard and the gardens are a little more tranquil.
A quiet walk behind the home and down the gentle slope of the 2-acre refuge takes visitors on a time-honored journey, where the inviting arms of a graceful old oak tree invite the playful antics of squirrels. Believed to be nearly 200 years old, the tree may be one of the oldest on the island. The giant oak surely holds the whispers and secrets of generations of island visitors who found comfort under its strong branches.
It provides great shade, tranquility, a sense of restfulness here on this piece of property, and it's been home to a lot of people who have sat here with a book open and fallen asleep.
Framed by the outstretched arms of the mighty oak, a romantic arbor, reminiscent of another time, offers its own quiet interlude.
The arbor area does bring back a sense of history. It reflects the architecture from the 1920s. You see it reflected in the lattice work of the arbors with the roses threaded through it. Very romantic.
Lost in time or in a dizzying romance, visitors may while away a sunny afternoon. But a few steps away, hostas and rhododendrons hug an ancient stone wall that weaves its way to more treasures of time in the garden.
The stone wall kind of provides a step down and provides a backdrop for some beautiful plantings.
At the edge of the property, a peek through the foliage yields a breathtaking view overlooking Vinyard Harbor, where great whaling ships sought refuge centuries ago.
The place that we have with the bench over by the stone wall is kind of like a little secret garden. You catch a glimpse of the harbor and remember the old times. You watch the boats sailing by very slowly.
Embracing the history of the land and sea, the gardens of the doctor's house provide an old-fashioned dose of rest and relaxation. Hidden within a gently rolling landscape, they're a magic potion that delivers refreshing views of the island of Martha's Vineyard. Coming up, a private island within an island. The Secret Gardens returns in a moment. Visions of paradise sparkle over the waters surrounding Martha's Vineyard off the coast of Massachusetts. And even as the sun disappears on the horizon, the promise of another day washes ashore. And hidden away on the island, one couple created their own hidden retreat and wrapped it in the embrace of their secret garden. Nina and Herman Schneider share their private garden paradise, just as they've shared their lives through 60 years of marriage.
I like the way this rounds off the point.
Well, you see this
Yeah.
over here? Look at this blues. Isn't that gorgeous with that blues?
Nina is the modest gardener, while Herman does the admiring.
This is the loveliest I've seen it yet.
No.
Nina fondly refers to Martha's Vineyard as a place stolen from time and the rest of the world. But before Nina and Herman could grow their own Shangri-La, they had to tame overgrown thickets.
Its specialty of the island and the mainland was poison ivy and brambles.
More than 2 decades later, the brambles are gone. Instead, informal cottage gardens surround the Schneider's home, forming islands of tranquility. Clematis vines cling to the weathered home, and more vines adorn a rustic trellis leading to new gardens. Behind the home, timeless roses cascade from the roof. Not far away, the gardens are lined with manicured boxwood hedges, giving form to the free-flowing flower beds that drift over the lawn. But at the edge of the property, surrounded by swamp maples, a pond holds a secluded surprise. A true private island where rhododendrons play on rustic paths and flowers peek out over the water.
It's totally exciting every day.
A short walk from the home, the tiny refuge invites the imagination and moments of solitude. And surprise blossoms that appear in the garden continue to fascinate Nina, even after all the years she spent gardening on Martha's Vineyard.
Like all those peonies, in 3 days, see up there, they'll be out, down. And they'll be quiet, in maybe 3 or 4 days, the roses are coming up.
Filled with colorful surprises and wrapped in tranquility, the secret gardens of Martha's Vineyard provide an awe-inspiring glimpse of one of New England's most famous islands. Tilled into historic soil and growing in harmony with the natural landscape, these secluded gardens capture the very best of this remote island escape. Join us again next time as we discover more hidden treasures in America's most spectacular secret gardens.